Hello everybody and welcome to my tutorial. Today I'm going to talk about how to download and use OBS Studio on Windows 10. Now this will also work on Windows 7 and 8. These are about all the same processes, even possibly on Mac. The download process will slightly change, but as far as that goes, everything else will almost be exactly the same. So this is a very multi-platform tutorial. But just to let everybody know, what I'm recording this on right now is NVIDIA Shadowplay. So you're probably going to notice some audio issues. My mic sounds normally better than that, but I'm using that because I need something to record my normal recording program, which is OBS Studio. So the first thing you're going to do is navigate to this site right here, obsproject.com. Now, don't worry, I'm going to have a link to this in the description so you can get right there. And the first thing you're going to notice is there's two options right now. We have OBS Studio and OBS Classic. Now, there is much better tutorials out there that tell the difference of this, so I'm just going to give you a little bit of a gist of this. And that's basically OBS Studio is a rewrite, a brand new version of the old one. Classic was the old original OBS that they made. It has all these features here that you can read about. OBS Studio has all that plus more. Not to mention they've simplified the process, fixed some bugs, made it more stable and less taxing, and overall just plain better. Highly recommend this. This one is a nightmare to work with. It does good job. It's just it's much more intense. I've spent hours trying to figure it out, and I've gotten stuff to work, but it's just been very complicated. So in the end, I recommend this. Another big important thing to note: if you have Mac or Linux, Studio is the only one that'll work. You cannot use Classic on anything except for Windows 7, 8, and 10. If you have anything else, Studio is the way to go. And heck, even if you do use Windows, I still think Studio is the way to go. So just ignore this here. So step one, figure out your operating system. For me, I'm Windows, so I'm going to click that, and it's going to start the download. So once that's finished, we're going to open up our download folder, and we're going to go to Downloads. And as soon as this is done, you'll see we have OBS Studio right here. Now, I actually already downloaded it. So this is the new one we got. This is my old one. So I'm just going to delete that. I did some tests before I started this recording, but we're just going to double click this. And it's okay to leave. Click yes. It's going to start the process. You're going to see it's working down there. And it's just going to take a little bit of time for everything to kick in, and Norton's already happy. Just take a little bit of time, and we can click on it here. Ah, here it is. I knew this was behind all that. So you can click down there, pull up that dialog, click Next. I agree. Choose the file location. For me, the default is fine. I'm going to install. And we're just going to let that tick through. It'll take only a moment. And it's finished. And we have the option to run OBS Studio right off the bat. We're going to run it. So I'm going to click Finish. It's going to run the application. You can see it's already booted up here. And if we click on it, we can see behind all that stuff, again, is this stuff here. So I'm going to click I agree. And it is going to then boot itself up any moment now. There we go. Boom. It took a few seconds, but here it is. So this is the actual OBS software. So I'm just going to pull this website away. We don't need this here anymore. We'll just get rid of that clutter. Let us also take this here. We're going to pull this away to my other monitor. And now we have a little desktop file it gave us. It's turned blank like that. I'm going to right click and click refresh. Still like that. We're going to delete this. This is our launch icon. Don't really need that on my desktop. Don't really like that. I prefer keeping stuff down the hotbar. I'm just going to right click and pin to taskbar and keep it over here. Just like that. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to set a few things up. First thing you're going to notice is that our screen is entirely blank, and that's because OBS Studio is a true open broadcast, or that's what it stands for, open broadcast software, and it's very true to that. This is broadcast software. You can do so much with this, and it's very scalable. You can do as little, just a simple desktop recording, or have multiple cameras hooked up with multiple monitors, multiple streams, and turn it into a whole TV station if you want. It's pretty cool what you can do. You can even key out yourself in the background and do live chroma keying and all that stuff. But we're not going to do anything complicated like that for this. All we're going to do is we're going to start with a scene right here, and we're just going to make it so we can record our desktop background. So what we're going to do that is we want to make sure our scene, this is going to be here by default. This is a scene 1. So that means this will be the default location for all the sources that we're going to send to this. So basically, scenes are your entire view of what the audience will see, and sources is what the audience is going to see per view. So let me kind of explain what that is. What we're going to do is we're going to click on this little plus sign here, and we're going to go to display capture right here, and we're going to click display capture. I'm just going to call this display capture 1. That's what we're going to do. It'll make it easier. And I'm going to press OK. And here you can see this is our display, and it is capturing it. Now we need to pick which display. We can do display 0, which is 1, or 1, which is they're considering 2, 0 or 2. This one or that one. This is my second monitor over here. You can see this is the original one. So if I pull this over, you can see that is the second monitor, but I want to actually capture this one. So just pick the one you want, then press, and you can also have capture cursor. If I turn this off, my cursor is nowhere to be seen. You can see I'm highlighting things, but you can't see it. I would prefer to keep this on, especially if you're doing a screen capturing. That would make it easier for whoever you're trying to teach or show where you're actually clicking on. And I'm just going to press OK. And boom, now we actually see our screen. Now, as far as that process goes, we're about set. Now, let's talk a little bit about what these scenes were here. Let's click this little plus here and make scene 1. This will basically be scene 2. Notice if I click here, we go to our desktop, and if I click here, we fade away. This is a different scene. So what I could do is I could click here, go back and click the plus, and then click on display capture again. Call that display capture, except set this one to the second monitor and press OK. So now I can switch between my second monitor over here and my first monitor right here. So this is a pretty cool feature how we can switch before, and we have almost unlimited options of different screens. We can cut between different monitors entirely. We even have our transition type. We could go to a cut, so when I click it just instantly snaps, or we could do a fade, and I can make this long or short. We'll do like say 5,000 milliseconds. So when I click now, it's just very slow and subtle fade, but we'll keep it at the 300 millisecond default, which is fine for this. And we're actually going to get rid of scene 1 because we don't need that. We can just click the minus button, and that's going to ask, are we sure? I'm going to click yes. We'll get rid of it. So now let's talk a little bit about some settings. Right now, if we tried to record, some stuff's going to happen, and for the main thing is we don't even know where we're recording to. So there's a few default settings we need to adjust right off the bat. One of those is right down here, settings. We're going to click on that. And it's going to pull open this. Now we're going to start at the top. I'm going to work our way down. Now the first thing I want to mention too is we're going to talk about video setup to recording, and then we're going to talk about streaming. So first will be video, next will be streaming. So hold on if you're not into the video part. It'll be very short, and then we'll get into the streaming setup. And the video and the streaming is almost exactly the same, and is very important steps to follow through that too. So I highly recommend following through all processes, even if you don't plan to just record. So first thing at the very top is we're going to have our language set to whatever you'd like. The theme, this is pretty cool. We can set this to dark, and I'm a big fan of this by default, so I would like to keep mine as dark. So we're going to have it to that. And now we're going to do show configuration dialog, all this stuff here. Hide cursor over projects. No, we're going to leave all that as fine. And automatically record when streaming. This is a nice feature. You can turn this on, so basically it'll record your stream to your hard drive as well as uploading it. So you'll have a recording set. For me, I'm not going to really do that. And this alignment snapping is just snapping this to your desktop wall and stuff. Really not too big of a deal. I'm going to leave that for there. Now we're going to hop over to stream. We're going to skip this for now, but we are going to come back to it. Next, we're going to go to output. This is some very important stuff. First off is video bitrate. If you're recording 1080p, you're going to do 3,500. If you're recording 720p video, 2,500 is fine. For me, I'm going to do 3,500 because that's the best way to do it for me. Now, we move down to encoder. Click on this. We have hardware NVENC, and then we have software. Let's talk a little bit about these differences. NVENC is basically trying to use the integrated graphics in your CPU to record this. So you're going to have less quality, but it's going to have less impact on your CPU and GPU because it's being handled internally with your integrated graphics, assuming that you have that. If you do not have that, then just forget about this process because that doesn't apply to you because it can't work on your system. For me, default, even if you have integrated graphics, I prefer software. It looks better and it looks way better at the same bit rate, and the videos play back much nicer. And I found that the issues and glitches that pop up, such as audio delay with this, is just completely not worth it. And the impact isn't even that much. There's really not much of a difference whatsoever. So I highly recommend leaving it at software X264 format. Next, we move on to audio bitrate. The max you can put it is 160, and I recommend keeping it that way. It'll make your audio sound as clean as possible. Now, we can go a little bit more by enabling advanced encoder settings. And we have some options we can do here where we can change it from very fast to ultra fast. And these basically are settings where if you do slower at the bottom, the lower you go, the better the video is going to look, but it'll have a bigger performance impact on your computer. So if you have a computer that's having some issues streaming and it's just a little hard for it, keep going up till you get to ultra fast, and keep trying different settings until you find the one for you. Ultra fast is going to be the lightest and easiest one on your computer, but the quality is going to be reduced. By default, it's at very fast, and I'd recommend leaving it there unless you notice some issues. Or if you have a really beastly computer, you could go down and put it to slow, medium, or even slower and try that out. By default, I'd leave this, and if you're just not too big on adjusting settings at all, you don't even have to enable this. Just leave this at default, let the system handle everything by itself and figure out what's best for you. Now we're going to move on down, and we're going to pick recording path. We're going to do this first. This is where our recordings are going to be saved to. So we're going to click browse, and I'm going to click on, for me it's going to be in my videos, and I'm going to go to my video files, which are down here somewhere. Here we are. And then we're going to go to game videos, and for me I'm going to put these in the OBS folder somewhere in here. Where did I put those? Desktop. I'm just going to create oh, it's right in front of me right here. I'm just going to click that, select folder, and that's the folder I've chosen. Now, what we're also going to change, and very important here, recording format. We'll change this from FLV to an MP4. This is a universal format, works on Macs, Linux, Windows. Highly recommend it. Very clean compression, much better file than FLV, which does not work on by default on Windows. So change that to MP4. Highly recommend it. You don't want to make the mistake of recording your whole tutorial on FLV to find out you can't use it. So use MP4. Now, recording quality, same as stream. You could go higher. So this is only applying though if you're streaming and recording at the same time. So if I'm streaming at 720p, but I wanted to record at a higher quality than that, higher bit rate, you could go higher, but realize the file size is going to get tremendously large, especially as you get down to lossless quality, which gets a tremendously large file size. We're going to keep this at default for me. Now that we got all this set up, we're just going to go down to audio, and this is going to do the little finishing touches. Sample rate is fine. Channel, stereo is fine. Desktop audio device, fine. Audio device 2 is fine. Leave it default, default, and default. Here is an important thing. If you would like to have push to talk, that means you push down a button and it'll open the thing and allow you to talk, and when you let go, it will stop letting your voice go through the mic. Then like a radio, you can have this turned on. Mic /aux, select enable push to talk. For me, I'm a big fan of this, so I'm going to have that on. Now we're going to go down to you can also, before I forget, you can also have a push to talk for your desktop audio, which is kind of interesting. I wouldn't recommend that, but for your particular scenario, that may be something you want to do. But I'm going to leave that off because I just only want it for my mic. Next I'm going to go to is video. Now this is an important thing. Pick the resolution that your monitor is going to record at. For me, this is a 1080p screen, so I can click this little here to a full 1080p screen right here. And now we have output scaled resolution. What this means, and this is the opposite of the canvas resolution. By that, it means what is the resolution of your monitor that you're recording on. I've set it. Now, scaled means it's going to downscale it. Now, the question is, why would you want to do this? Is on Twitch, when you're streaming, you downscale the resolution of your actual monitor so it has less data. 1080p is twice the size of 720p. So it's twice the resolution. So by downscaling it, you make it easier for viewers to have less bandwidth to stream. By default, it's recommended to use 720p instead of 1080p because a lot of people just buffer and never even be able to see what you're actually streaming, which is a big problem. If you're going to be recording video to your desktop, though, I recommend leaving this at full 1080p. So you're basically not downscaling at all. Next, we have our frame rate. This comes to the same thing. 30 frames per second is the default, but 60 is the true refresh rate of most monitors. So if you want to have recorded the actual refresh rate of your monitor so people see a very realistic experience and it looks nicer basically, I recommend doing 60. Now, if your computer is having some issues recording though, it's just too much going on and it's just too hard for your computer and it starts bogging your system down when you're recording, if you have an older computer, you can turn this back to 30, which will do half the processing time, so it'll be easier for your system. For me, my system can handle it, so I'm going to do 60. Next, we're going to move on to hotkeys. Now, this is very important if you're going to be doing push-to-talk. Under the mic aux, we have to set our push-to-talk key. What key are we going to press that's going to enable us to open and close our mic? I'm just going to click here, press F7, and we're good to go. We have that set. Now, finally, we're going to move down to advanced. There's also a whole lot of other stuff in here, such as scene switching, start and stop streaming. Very nice stuff. I'm going to leave this at the default for now. Only one I want is F7. I'm going to now click on advanced. Now, process priority, very top. This basically means, is this going to have priority on your CPU? Because your CPU is what's going to be churning this out. It's what's going to be doing the work and the load for broadcasting this. If I set this to high, this will have priority over every single device, meaning you could get noticeable lag on everything you're doing on your computer. Suppose if you set this to normal, it will have other applications have priority over this. So if your computer is old and has some issues, leave this at normal. If it's not and you really want the best quality, going all this is only on the CPU, the most priority is going to OBS, you can set this to high or above normal. For me, I found normal works fine for my needs, so I'm going to leave that standard, even though my CPU definitely could handle it. Next we have video. I highly recommend leaving it this Direct 3D11. OpenGL is just a different type of support, which basically is going to be using your graphics card a little bit more heavily, which I haven't played around with too much, could come up with some issues. I find Direct 3D11 works perfectly fine for me. Now we move to video adapter. This here is completely unchecked for me as I don't have a real integrated graphic card being used. If you do have integrated graphics, this may be the spot where it's going to ask you to select that area. I'm not too sure about this one. For me, I use an actual graphics card, so nothing's popping up for me. Color format, default, default. We're going to also leave this one, default. Recording, file name. This is just the structure of how it's going to save the files and the name and the dates. Leave this at default, I recommend. Stream delay. Not really going to do this. By default, nobody's going to want to do this except for a few people. For example, say you're streaming a attack that you're doing on an enemy base and you don't want the enemies to know exactly where you are. You could enable like a 20-minute delay or something. So when they see on your stream where you're actually at, they'll know that's 20 minutes ago. So a stream delay is something you can throw on, but I'd recommend not doing that, especially for recording, so just leave that off. Automatically reconnect, this is just if you disconnect a scene. This is streaming thing again, and that is the complete process. Now, very important step right now, make sure you click apply before we leave. That makes sure everything we just did is now saved. So now we're going to click OK, and of course you can go back through and make sure everything's still there, but we're just going to click OK now. And let's give this a test, shall we? Let's click Start Recording. Now we have started recording. So we're going to move our mouse around. We're going to move this around the screen. And, yep, there I go. I'm talking, and we're done. Let's click Stop Recording. And now let's take a look at our recording. So we can click File and click Show Recordings. This will open that folder, and it's put it over my other monitor. It'll open that folder where we did our recording, and this is the one right here. So let's double click it to see. Start recording, and ta-da, we have this, and we're done. So there we go. That was the file, and you can see already that the audio quality was much, much better through OBS Brought Studio than it is through Shadowplay, which you're hearing me right now. You can hear the audio quality in there was way cleaner than what you're hearing here, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, that is the process of using that for on here. So the next step is I did say I'd show you how to set this up for streaming to Twitch. So let's talk a little bit about that real quick. What you want to go do is navigate to twitch.com/ or www.twitch.tv. I'll give a link to this in the description as well. And you're going to log in, and then you're going to want to click here and go to channel. So now that we have that set up ahead of time, here's just my channel. Anyone would work. I'm just going to pull this around out of the way real quick to show you something real fast. That is right here under settings. We're going to click on stream. We're finally going to talk about this a little bit. We're going to set our stream type to streaming service. You could set to custom streaming server, but I'd recommend this one, especially if you're going to use Twitch. Service, set as Twitch. Pick your location. For me, I am Eastern, so just keep pressing E on your keyboard or until you find Eastern Chicago. Here we go, Eastern New York. This is where I'm at. Now comes the last little piece for streaming to Twitch, your stream key. Now there's a ton of tutorials to show this out there, but I'm just going to throw this in anyway. This is why we navigated to our channel, because once we logged in, we can see here's my name, Red J. I can click this and go to down here somewhere. I believe it was dashboard. That is correct. Now we are in our Twitch dashboard, and what this means is we can click right here, stream key. I'm going to click this, and I'm going to click show key. Now, your streamer key is something you do not want to show anybody. That's why I'm going to gray this out over my thing, so no one can actually see what my stream key is. When you click I understand, because people can steal your key and basically stream as you, and not many people want that to happen. So it's a very secret key. Don't show anybody this. Is very personal, so that's why I'm going to block this out, the little box, when I click I understand. So here's my stream key. I'm going to have this blocked out. You can't see it. I'm just going to copy this, and now I'm going to close this, but that is where your key is going to be. So I'm going to pull this aside. I'm going to paste that stream key in here. Now I'm also going to block this out because I don't want you to know how many digits my actual secret key is. But we are going to click apply, and we're going to click OK. So now what we can do is I'm going to go back to my Twitch page, and we can go first things first. It'll take some time. I'm just going to click start streaming because we're actually literally ready to go right now, and we are streaming right here. So we can go up here, and we can go to my channel. And now what we're going to do is let it load, and there you go. It's going to pop up a commercial now and all that, but you can see it was actually going through any minute now. There we go. And here we have the stream going on live, and you can see me seeing what I was just doing there, scrolling through all that. There's that commercial again. We get a double whammy, but yeah, there you go. And here we have the stream going on, and you can hear that we do have audio going in the background too. Seeing what I was just doing there, scrolling through all that, there's that, and we have all that. So there we go. That is how to download, install, and set up OBS Studio to record on your computer or stream to Twitch. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you did, please leave a thumbs up. If you didn't find this helpful, leave a thumbs down. If you have a little bit more, if your feelings are a little bit more complex than that, please leave a comment below. I love hearing comments. If you're struggling, having issues, something didn't work for you, leave a comments in the comment section in this tutorial, and I'm going to try and help you out. I love trying to help people get this stuff solved. So if you're having any issues, let me know in the comments. I'm going to try and get things fixed for you. But thank you again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial.